They say lightning never strikes the same place twice, but in the world of fraud, it does. And for seniors already shaken by one scam, the second strike can be even more devastating, because scammers know exactly who to target and exactly what wounds to reopen. These predators watch, wait, and move in when seniors are most vulnerable, armed with stolen information, purchased data, and scripts designed to sound like salvation. They call themselves investigators, refund agents, government partners, even heroes. But every promise is a lie. Today, we expose how recovery scammers track down their victims, how they craft the perfect message of false hope, and why intelligent, thoughtful retirees still get pulled back in. And we reveal the real organizations that can help, not with miracles, but with truth, confidence, and a path forward. Welcome to Fraud on the Front Porch, and the truth about fraud starts now. Hello, folks, and thanks for joining, listening, or watching. Today's theme is recovery scams, that second strike that hits seniors after the first scam. Why does this episode matter? Well, I will steal a little of Sean's thunder and share that seniors who have already been scammed once are 10 times more likely to be scammed again. We've teased this topic on other podcasts before, but today we're giving this our full attention. And as always, joining me in studio is our fellow fraud furrier, Sean. Sean, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Tony. I love this topic because in these recovery scams, the only thing more dangerous than the first lie is the second lie that sounds like hope. And Tony, I'm going to jump right into stats today. So if we talk about the second strike, so we're talking about a follow-on after you've already been scammed, and you just covered it. These numbers are chilling. These numbers are worse sometimes than the first wave of fraud. Let's start with the big one you shared at the beginning. Seniors who have been scammed are 10 times more likely to be targeted again. And here's why. Criminals actively buy and sell victim lists. Sometimes we call them sucker lists. They contain names, phone numbers, loss amounts, even emotional notes. They take notes during the calls and the emails. We've talked about these before. These lists circulate on the dark web for sometimes as little as $20.
It's like these scams have babies.
Yeah, that's one really unique way of looking at it. 70% of recovery scam victims say the scammer knew the exact amount that they lost in the first scam. So they're reading these lists. They know exactly what you lost. That's because they are reusing the same stolen data.
That's the emotional knife twist. We know what happened to you. It feels like a validation, but it's actually manipulation.
Yes. Yeah. And speaking of manipulation, 45% of seniors who fall for recovery scams say the scammer used phrases like, "We can help you fix your mistake." That's shame-based language. We're going to get into that a little bit. And they want you to feel shame. They want you to stay silent. And that's what they count on. And that leads to this really devastating number. 40% of seniors never report the second scam because they're embarrassed.
Yeah, that's 40%. That means that nearly half the victims are basically suffering alone. And folks, those out there listening, not necessary. No one who really gives a you-know-what about you wants to judge you in this regard. Basically, they just want to ease your pain.
Yep. This is our no shame zone. Even with the shame, the financial impact is still brutal, though the average loss in a recovery scam is double the amount lost in the first scam because these scammers will escalate everything: processing fees, release fees, tax fees. Here's a number that shocked me. 1 in 3 recovery scam victims is contacted within 2 weeks of the first scam, which means these lists are circulating quickly. Scammers are watching you in real time. And urgency also plays a massive role. 82% of recovery scams use a limited time refund tactic. Act now or you lose your money forever, some type of way of hurrying you up. And then I want to give you a hopeful statistic. Seniors who receive even 1 hour of fraud awareness training are 60% less likely to fall for a recovery scam.
Love it. Hallelujah, baby. 60%. That's pretty good. That's why we're here.
It is. It is. And one final number to define today's episode. Winning means breaking the cycle. And seniors who report the first scam, freeze their accounts, and involve family reduce their risk of a second scam by over 70%.
That's nice. That's really nice. You know, we might have folks who are listening to this episode hit the stop button right there and just kind of roll with the dice. And with that 70% insulation, thinking, okay, that's the path forward. That's the hope. That's the win. I'm going to encourage you to stick around for the rest of the episode because we might be able to get that 70% over 90%.
Let's get it to 100%. Come on, 100%. We can get there.
I'd take 100%. I'd take 100%, especially in light of some of the things that have happened to me lately and me personally having my bank card stolen. We might get into that a little bit later on.
Crazy.
Sean, that's a fantastic way to kick us off. Thanks very much. All right, let's start taking control of that second half potential scam. We've got a few quick stories we want to share, maybe some common events that have taken place lately where seniors were re-attacked, as it were. The first one involves the FBI. I think you're going to share that with us.
Yeah.
Right?
My first story is the fake FBI refund division. So a senior lost, unfortunately, $12,500 here. So a scammer posed as an FBI agent, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. The FBI agent offered to recover funds from an earlier tech support scam that the senior had fallen for. It was discovered because they made a call to the true FBI, who confirmed no such division exists. And the outcome there was the money was unfortunately unrecoverable, and the senior joined a support group.
That seems all too common.
Yep.
All right, I've got one. It's a class action lawsuit that never was. As we've been prepping for this episode, I've been reading a lot about these kinds of class action lawsuits, and they're so much more prevalent than I realized. This loss was in particular $4,800. Scammer claimed that the senior was eligible for a settlement refund. No such settlement refund existed. Fortunately, the daughter had discovered that the email domain was from a fake law firm, so she was able to stop that in its tracks. And the senior avoided further losses, and they reported the scam through all the channels we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, good for that. Good for the daughter to catch that. My next story is the crypto recovery specialist. This loss was another big one, $19,000. In this method the scammer used, they were promising to trace and retrieve stolen crypto. So crypto's dangerous for all ages. So I encourage you to do your homework before you ever touch anything like that. It was discovered because the bank actually started flagging these unusual wire transfers going in and out of the account. At the end, they partially recovered their funds, but the scammer was never caught.
Too often, that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay, final story. We have a short story, I should say. Government grant refund scam. This loss was $7,200. Now we're getting into some serious amount of money.
I know.
This scammer claimed that the senior qualified for a federal refund after a charity scam. So senior gets bilked out of money from a charity scam, and now someone from the feds has come along and said, we're going to get your money back. Fortunately, the senior's son called the real agency and no such program existed. Senior was protected from further targeting. So what we're summarizing up here is that, yeah, you can have somebody help you and intervene on some of these recovery scams a second time, but there's still a lot. As you said earlier, sometimes 2 times the original fraud is perpetrated here, and there's some serious money at risk. All right. I know folks are wondering how all this happens. You know, those interrogatives I like to talk about. Sean, you want to dig a little deeper into the operations for us, maybe into a little bit more into the minds of the scammers? I'm sure folks listening, if they've tuned into other episodes, know about the sucker lists. I got to share that one in a seminar last week, and You wouldn't believe. Everyone in that room's heads nearly exploded with incredulity, as it were, if you like that one.
I do.
Quite an eye-opener. Let's talk about some of those and some of the other interrogatives.
Tony, these recovery scammers are very calculated, very methodical. They're sophisticated, and they're not improvising. They're running a playbook that's been refined over time. And just like a salesperson, they're looking for their warm leads. So as soon as a senior falls for one scam, that seems like a good lead for the next wave of scams. And so I'm going to break down really quick here exactly how they're operating. So first off, they've got to identify previous victims. So they're not guessing who to target. They already know. They used one huge source for them. We already talked about it, those sucker lists. These are entire databases of previous scam victims that are sold on the dark web. They include your names, your phone numbers, your email addresses, the amount lost. That's how they know so much about you. They know exactly how much you were scammed for the first time. They know the type of the scam. And again, they've got those notes in there. Was this person emotionally vulnerable? Was this person lonely, confused, very trusting? All that stuff can be added to these lists, which just trade hands on the dark web. Sometimes they use data leak from the first scam. So scammers can just share this information between fraud rings. Sometimes your name is just in a gigantic database full of other names from a data leak on the internet. Another huge one is social media. We talk about social media all the time here, Tony. If you post, "Hey, my mom just got scammed by a fraudster, and here's all the stuff that happened." Well, if another fraudster sees that post, they're going to target the mom again. You don't want to post that stuff publicly for everyone to look at. And then, again, there's phone number recycling as well. Scammers call every single phone number that's ever been used before. Even years later, you might get a phone number if you have one of these existing numbers. I know from my side, unfortunately, one of my kids has a phone number of somebody who either owed a lot of money in debt or signed up for all kinds of stuff when they used to have this number, because he gets phone calls and texts for somebody that is not him all the time. And it seems like it's really hard to block all of that. But that's just to share with you that scammers hang on to these phone numbers, and they use them forever, for years.
Wow. So the moment any senior gets scammed, their name becomes a signal flare for every other scammer.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's step one of the process, how they find you. Number two is how they build the trust. There's a psychology element here. They weaponize emotions. So the first emotion they go after is shame. They're going to say things like, "We're here to help you fix your mistake." Notice the word mistake in there. "You don't need to tell your family." We've heard that one a lot. Don't tell anyone. Then they move on to fear. "You may be liable if you don't act quickly. If you don't act now, you'll lose everything. Your case will be closed if you don't act now." So shame and fear, and then they follow up with the other side of the coin, hope. "Hey, we recovered your funds. Hey, we caught the scammers." Okay, so now you're on this roller coaster of emotions, of reliving your shame, and now they've given you this hope and a little bit of urgency behind it. The other part of it is the authority. They impersonate the FBI. They'll impersonate the Federal Trade Commission, the IRS, your local police, a bank, or a law firm. They will impersonate whoever they think fits the story best. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, how they impersonate. And then, of course, there's the urgency that follows that. "We've got your money, but the funds expire in 24 hours. We've got your money, but this is actually your only chance to get it back because of, some federal law we're making up on the spot here."
So they're not just stealing money, they're stealing emotions. They're hijacking the very feelings that seniors are trying to heal from.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm.
So their third step in their playbook, how do they impersonate these real organizations? It's very sophisticated. First off, they can spoof anything on your caller ID. They can make it look like the call is coming from the FBI or coming from a bank. Second, they can use fake email domains. If you receive this message through email, they use those lookalike addresses. A couple examples I pulled up are ftc-refunds.com, FBI-casesupport.org. Those are all fake. Those are fake email domains made to look like actual authoritative emails. They use fake websites. They can clone a real agency website with a case portal, a refund calculator, the agent verification pages. They'll also send along fake badges and case numbers. I mean, they'll send you a PDF with, a logo, a seal, a signature, a case ID on it. They make them look very, very real. And then, of course, they want you to hit these refund portals, and it'll say, "Oh yeah, type in your info. Here it is. Here's the money we owe you." And then, magically you type in your info, and there it is on the fake refund portal. Here's
Wow,
the money coming back to you.
I've read about those, and to a senior who's scared, overwhelmed, desperate for closure, it all looks so legitimate.
It really is. Okay, so now we're working our way down their playbook. We're about halfway through. This seems like a lot, doesn't it? But we're only halfway through. Here's some of their tactics they use. Now they're impersonating authority. They start with the validation piece. So this is how they convince you, Tony. They'll say, "You lost $4,200 on March 12th." And your first reaction is, "Oh my gosh, that's right." There's no way they could have known that unless they're actually an authority figure investigating this case, right? They know exactly what you lost and when you lost it. We have your case file. It's right here in front of me. I mean, that's instant credibility. That is very sophisticated. It's very sneaky. It's very underhanded, but they do know that data about you. They offer this solution. Again, that hope. Well, we can recover your funds. Hey, we arrested the scammers. We got all the money back. We know how much we owe you. But what do you think's next, Tony? But what? I just need a processing fee. I just need a release. Oh, it's actually an international transfer fee, Tony, to get your money back because the money was overseas. And you go, "Oh, wow. So I can get my $4,200 back by giving you $250? That's a no-brainer." And of course, once they get that first taste, they escalate it. So you pay once, they're going to figure out a way to get you to pay again. Don't you worry about that. It's not over. But once they hit their mark, once you start getting a little suspicious, they disappear. Those phones go dead. They've been talking to you. The emails bounce. The websites vanish. So there you go.
It's so clever. It's so creative and so clever. The names of some of these fees that they come up with,
Yes.
unbelievable.
Yep.
It's like a conveyor belt of manipulation. and to your point, seniors don't realize any of this, and then it's too late.
Yes. And a lot of these start small, like that conveyor belt, like you just said. I mean, they know what you lost the first time. They're going to throw some numbers at you, see how you react. If you hesitate, if you involve family, which is what we always recommend, they're going to go away. They want to test the water with that something small and then keep ramping it up. And if you start involving other people, they're going to disappear. But that's how they just keep fishing. They throw the fishing line back in the pond to see how much more money they can get. And some of the tools they use, they will come not just one person, but a team of people, Tony. So you'll get on the phone in the first conversation, you're talking to the agent. One person is playing an FBI agent. Then they're going to transfer you to the next person who is their supervisor. So now you're talking to a second person. And then you get transferred to another person. Maybe that's your case manager, someone who is just specifically has intimate knowledge of your case and is going to work you through this. And they all follow a script. So now you're dealing with the team of actors. I think we've talked about the scammer improv group before and how they work on their skill set, but they can even use AI tools. There's voice cloning, again, those fake documents, fake signatures on them. And then ultimately, they are going to use their network of money laundering, payment laundering networks. They've got crypto wallets. Of course, they may ask you for gift cards and wire transfers. We've talked about that before, but they actually use money mules. When we talked in our episode about romance scams, sometimes those people end up just transferring money back and forth and they don't realize they are a mule for illegally obtained money. So it's a team effort coming at you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't think a lot of folks realize that most of these scams come from something other than lone wolves.
Yeah.
Comes from organized, coordinated, and really relentless groups of individuals, whether they're stateside or international.
And you can't emphasize that enough. There's just teams of people dedicated to do this to you, to seniors. So quick summary, I threw a lot at you. These recovery scams, they fool seniors by exploiting the emotional wound you've already had the first time around. They use shame and fear. Then they jump to hope that you're going to get it back. They impersonate trusted authorities, use stolen data to appear legitimate, and then again create that urgency in the back end to make sure you're not using any of your critical thinking skills that would talk you out of it. So their goal is pretty simple, to reopen the door that the first scam already cracked open.
Yeah. Yeah, like most, I don't know, maybe all scams. It's this is terrible to say, but it's sickening genius is really what it is. I think any admiration of the creativity and productivity of a scammer is really just a warning to be hypervigilant. I think we hear it all the time. You and I have said it before, if only, right? If only they had, because we all know what the rest of the statement is. Kind of reminds me of that Willie Sutton line, like, why do you rob banks? Well, because that's where the money is, right? Scammers are coming after us because we've got things to give them.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to earn it legitimately. They want the shortcut, right? They want to steal. All right. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate you going through that. That was an exhaustive playbook for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into story time. So I'm going to take us through a story that probably still haunts the investigators who worked the case. It just shows how devastating a recovery scam can be when the scammer knows exactly where the cracks are. The call that reopened the wound. This is the story of Walter Pierce, age 83, a retired Navy machinist, a widower, a man who prided himself on being careful, disciplined, and self-reliant. But last year, Walter fell for a tech support scam. He lost $4,200, money he'd saved for dental work he'd been putting off. He told no one, not his daughter, not his pastor, not his friends at the VFW. He carried the shame alone. 2 weeks later, just 14 days, the phone rang. The caller ID said, U.S. Federal Refund Division. The voice on the other end was calm, professional, reassuring. Mr. Pierce, this is Agent Donovan. We're calling about the fraud incident you reported. We've located the criminals. We've recovered your funds. Walter froze. He hadn't reported anything, but the agent knew everything. The date of the first scam, the amount he lost, even the last 4 digits of the account he'd used. Walter felt something he hadn't felt since the scam. Hope. Agent Donovan told him the government had seized the scammer's accounts. He told him Walter was entitled to a full refund. He told him the case was time-sensitive and needed to be processed immediately. Walter hesitated. The agent said, Sir, if you delay, your refund will be forfeited. He said, We're trying to help you. He said, You deserve justice. And Walter, wanting closure, wanting relief, wanting to believe, agreed. The agent explained there was a refundable processing fee of $1,100. Walter wired the money. The next day, the agent called again. There's a tax clearance fee. Walter paid it. Then came a release fee. Then a foreign transfer fee. Then a case reactivation fee. Each time, the agent sounded more sympathetic, more supportive, more invested in Walter's recovery. By the time Walter's daughter discovered what was happening, after noticing unusual withdrawals, he had lost $12,800, 3 times the amount of the original scam. And the worst part? The agent wasn't a new scammer. He was the same scammer who stole Walter's money the first time, using the same notes, the same data, the same emotional vulnerabilities. Walter later said, "I didn't fall for the money. I fell for the idea that someone cared." And that's the cruelty of recovery scams. They don't just steal dollars, they steal dignity. They steal trust. They steal the belief that things can get better. And for seniors like Walter, the second strike hurts far more than the first. All right, Sean. Time to give our seniors the playbook for protecting themselves. It's time to shift the power back to them.
Yeah. Let's talk about maybe what helped Walter in that process for sure. So I've got a few different steps that seniors need to take to make sure this second wave of scams doesn't hit them. And the very first step, and I mean the very, very first, is to slow everything down. We talk about that a lot. Scammers thrive on urgency. Legitimate organizations do not. Here's what seniors should do the moment someone contacts them claiming they can recover lost funds. Step 1 in this is ask for full legal identification. So not just Agent Collins. You want a full name, you want an agency, you want a badge number, you want an office phone number, you want an email address, you want a case number. Again, maybe the scam is really sophisticated and they're going to supply all that to you, but that is step 1, is to obtain that type of information about the person on the phone with you. Step 2, ask for a callback number. Scammers do not want callbacks. They want you on the phone right now, paying the money. Ask for written documentation is step 3. A real agency who is working on your behalf on anything is going to send you a letter. They're not going to send threats. Step 4, you can ask for a video call. We've talked about that before. Scammers hate video like the plague. They don't want to get on camera with you, of course. And then step 5, involve a second person, Tony. We always talk about it. Your trusted friend, your family member, an advisor. Involve a second person right away.
Yeah, and on top of that, like you mentioned earlier, the urgency, if every senior needs to hear this, if there's any pressure on you to act immediately, it's a scam, period.
That's right. That's right. And so now we're past slowing down. The second step is to verify. So seniors, here are some actual tools, some websites and resources that make verification of government agencies pretty easy. So to verify a government agency, you can go to the official sites, FBI.gov, FTC.gov, IRS.gov, USA.gov is a list of all federal agencies. I mean, that's how you look up if they say we're from I already forgot the name of the agency you just read in the story a minute ago, but, U.S. Federal Refund Division. If you go to USA.gov, you're not going to find that because it's not a legitimate agency. If they say they're law enforcement, verify it. Call the non-emergency number of your local police department. You can Google that. You can look that up while you're on the phone with them. And then you're going to try to verify those case numbers again with that local law enforcement. I mean, you need somebody else to tell you that that's a legitimate case number. You can use reverse phone lookup tools against the phone number that's called you. You can even Google a phone number and see if it comes up on some kind of spam list. And then, of course, our fraud prevention tools we always talk about. The AARP is a fraud watch network. There's an elder justice initiative out there, and then you have your state's attorneys protection office for sure.
Nice. And I'd say along with that, never, ever trust the phone number given by the caller.
Right.
Always look it up independently, looking at all these different sites you've just talked about.
Yep. Yeah.
And your own Google search.
And you do it on your own. Yeah. If you're on the phone, pull up your computer and look it up while you're talking to him. You can verify it while you're got him hung on the phone with you. Another toolkit, we won't dig into this because we've covered it, but you want to verify websites, emails, those domain names. How do you spot the fakes? There's lots about reading the URL, look for those dashes we talked about earlier. We have done an entire episode on this. If you're interested in this, please go back and listen to our Foul Ball Files, websites that don't play fair episode. I think it's in the first 3 or the first 5 we ever released on this podcast. That's packed full of information on how to spot a fake. Really, really good resource for everybody out there.
Episode 3, I believe.
Okay. And then some of the safe habits. This is the next step in our list of protecting seniors. Just golden rules. These are the things you've got to remember. Never pay fees for a refund. Real agencies that are recovering money for you aren't going to charge you fees to recover the money. Rule 2, involve a second person. A second set of eyes catches everything that you may have missed. Rule 3, keep everything in writing. Scammers hate paper trails. Rule 4, call the official number, not the number provided. You just mentioned that, Tony. And then Rule 5, this is important. Maybe we don't talk about this enough. Trust your discomfort.
Yeah.
You have a gut feeling that something's off. If you just have a weird feeling that you're talking to somebody, but it doesn't make sense, or something is just a little bit out in left field, it probably is off. Definitely trust your gut, trust your discomfort when you get into these calls.
Yeah, and I want to echo this. We talk about it a lot. Probably can't mention it enough, especially in light of the fact we don't want anybody to feel any shame. Never be embarrassed to ask for help. You're in uncharted territory in most of these situations. Embarrassment is the scammer's greatest weapon. The shame along that goes with it. They'll shut you down. Ask for help.
Yep. That's just huge. All right, let's talk about long-term protection strategy to future-proof yourself against scams. This is where seniors can really, really take control. Number 1, you can always freeze your credit. That'll stop anybody from opening any kind of account, credit card, bank account in your name. A second one is think about changing your phone number. If you're getting a lot of fraudster calls, you're getting a lot of scammers trying to contact you, you can always change your phone number and just get away from that because it's probably on a list somewhere. That one's not very convenient for the average person to do, but it is an option if you feel like that's your best way forward. Here's a good one. Attend a fraud awareness workshop, just like Tony, you gave recently. Stats say attending even just a 1 hour fraud awareness workshop reduces your personal risk of being scammed by 60%. So that little amount of awareness helps tremendously going forward. And then on the follow-up of that, report that first scam immediately if you've been scammed. The other statistic is that if those who have reported the first scam reduce their chances of getting scammed a second time by 70%. So the awareness piece right there is huge for your protection.
Yeah, we didn't have a very big group last week, but definitely as we were going through some of the things, some things you've touched on today, some other things we've touched on in other podcasts and just general knowledge, definitely see some light bulbs going off.
Good.
From the crowd. Definitely some light bulbs going off based on the questions that were being asked. This is an ocean of fraud. we don't know all of it,
Right.
right? We know a lot, but there's still so much more out there. It's nothing more than information sharing that's going to elevate everybody. That's all it's going to come down to. You can't figure out every single tactic in every single situation, every single scenario that anyone would go through. But if you're orienting the thinking in a specific way, everything you're saying, Sean, is going to prepare folks to better front whatever frauds are coming their way. I know there's organizations out there, as you've discussed, whose entire mission is to protect you. Definitely, we're one of them. There's tons of them out there. Get as exposure to them as much as you possibly can. It's the best counsel I can give.
Yep. That's great advice, Tony. It really is. That's why we're doing this podcast. We hope to make a difference, put a dent in some of this.
Yeah.
All right, I've got 4 quick examples of successful interventions using these verification tools we just talked about. So first example is the fake FBI agent. So fake FBI agent calls a senior. The senior asked for a callback number. Guess what happened? The scammer just hung up. The scammer hung up. As soon as you ask them for a callback number, click. They don't want to deal with you. They want to move on to somebody who's an easier target. Second example, there was a refund portal they were directed to, but it had a misspelled URL. So the senior checked the URL, was off by 1 letter. She walked away. Hang up, turn off the email, close the browser. That easy. Third example, the case number that didn't exist. So senior was contacted by someone impersonating a federal agency. The senior called the real agency. They said, we have no such case. And they were able to stop a wire transfer in time in this case, which is great. Great. My fourth example was an email that came from a Gmail account. So in this case, a senior's grandson noticed the email was coming from a Gmail account and intervened, and that scam was shut down as well.
We should do a 60-minute recording on just these types of examples.
I know.
That was fantastic. The examples, I mean, they show that the verification is not complicated. You just got to be consistent.
Yeah.
You got to find the way. What's the way I legitimize this, right? I was asking the group the other day in this seminar, what is your legitimizing tactic, right? Yeah. Everything has something you can do to legitimize it. What is the legitimizing tactic for this scenario? And that's really the way you can arm yourself. Look, some of the things we get approached with, and I told a story about this, are legit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
It is a charity you want to donate to, or it is a situation where the government might help because of the way they've contacted you, or there might be an ongoing case, or that's okay. One of the things I shared is that legitimate agencies don't mind callbacks.
Right.
Right? Be ready to walk away, because a legitimate agency doesn't mind a callback. Hanging up is not the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah. Be
willing to hang up. If it's that important, it'll come back. It'll come back.
Yeah. And you're just talking about verifying and taking control of the situation. Don't you? That's all it is. You're taking the reins back from the scammer. So, I mean, you turn that fear into control, confusion into clarity. You're turning that vulnerability into strength. You are just taking command of the situation.
Exactly. And when we learn how to verify, the scammers lose all their strength.
That's right. Quiz time.
Quiz time. Quiz time. Finally getting it in there. All right. Awesome. So we're expanding the quiz, get a little bit more informational, a little bit more challenging.
Oh boy.
Going forward, we're looking at maybe 7 to 10 questions now instead of 5. Whew. So, are you ready, my friend?
I'm ready.
Number 1.
Hit me with it.
Number 1, true or false? The FBI will call you to return lost money.
False. And more than likely, if that was ever going to happen to you, I wish someone would return lost money to me, but they would show up at your door. I don't think you're going to get that phone call from the FBI.
Good job. I would venture to say that the only time you would get a phone call is if you had an ongoing case with them.
Right. Yeah.
But the initial contact, every government agency says they will not call you out of the blue. No way for you to verify who they are, right? For many of the things we've discussed today. Number 2, true or false? The FBI will put you through a series of tests in order to return your lost money.
That's a tricky one. I'll say false, because I would think, like we just said, the FBI would already know who you are by the time they're reaching out.
Very intuitive. Yeah, they're going to figure out who you are before they ever come knocking on your door.
Yeah.
They're not, the FBI doesn't go fishing, so to speak.
Right.
Okay, we got a multiple choice question. Number 3, which is a red flag? A, caller knows your loss amount. B, caller asks you for a fee. C, caller pressures you. D, all of the above.
That is D, all of the above.
Amen. Absolutely.
Yep.
Number 4, true or false? Attending a 1-hour fraud awareness seminar, or conversely, watching a video like this, can reduce scam risk by 50%.
Ooh, you're trying to trick me, Tony. That is actually false, because it's higher. Because what we just read was education, a workshop, a seminar, watching something like this. They report 60% or even higher, 70% reduction to your scam risk. So if you pay attention, watch more than one of our podcasts, think about every hour you tack on to that education. You're going to be immune to scams pretty soon.
Amen. Good job. Good job. Number 5, true or false? Recovery scammers often use information from the first scam.
True. That's that sucker list that they trade in the dark web. They change hands all the time. True.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the sucker list exists. It's real and it's used. Number 6, another multiple choice question. Which organization can legitimately help? A, Federal Refund Bureau. B, IRS Recovery Unit. C, the FTC. D, Global Refund Services.
Oh, wow. Those all actually have real sounding titles to them, but I'm going to say C, the Federal Trade Commission.
All right, for the bonus, why do they have real sounding names?
To try to trick you. They all sound like partially like a federal agency, but with just a couple more words tacked on.
Exactly. Folks, they're creative.
Yep.
They're trying to take your money. These names aren't by accident. They're chosen, probably use AI.
Yeah.
Number 7, another multiple choice. Which of the following is not something that helps verify a legitimate agent? A, the amount of the previous scam. B, badge number. C, email address. D, case number.
That would be A. The scammers already know what you lost based on that sucker list they have.
Yeah. And that doesn't help you in any way
Right.
determine who exactly that individual is. Number 8, true or false? Rule number 1 for safe habits, i.e., the golden rule, is involve another person.
That's a good one, but that's false. The rule number 1 is never pay for refunds. Real agencies are not going to charge you fees to return your money.
You're right.
Never pay
That was
for
a
a
trick
refund.
question. Good job.
It was. You're trying to trick me.
I told you we got to step up our game a little bit. We got to step up our game a little bit. Yeah, I mean, involving another person's great, but if, again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago about the mindset, if you get the mindset right, never pay for a refund.
Right.
Worst case scenario, Tell them to take it out of your refund and you'll wait.
Mm-hmm.
See how they respond.
There you go.
I was sharing the other day, a little bit of a segue here during the class, that when you slow a scammer down, they get frustrated.
Yep.
When a scammer gets frustrated, they get angry. When a scammer gets angry, they start being a little bit more belligerent, a little bit more hurriesome, a little more urgent related. Those are all red flags to tell you you're not operating with a legitimate service individual of whatever organization they claim to be from.
Right.
Number 9, which of the following is not on the scammer team? A, one person plays the agent. B, one person plays the supervisor. C, one person plays the case manager. And D, one person plays a previous victim.
Well, that's D, because unfortunately you have to play the victim. You're not on the scammer team.
Amen. Amen. So we only had 9 today, not 10.
Okay.
So you did great. Good job. And you're right about that. You don't want to play D. You don't want to be the victim. So certainly pay heed to the things that you've been sharing with us today. All right, that was fun. I'm enjoying the longer quiz version. I think we'll keep that up going forward. Before we get into your successful intervention story, let's talk a little bit about maybe some other scams, tactics, red flags, or any verification steps you might want to share today.
Yeah, and maybe just a reinforcement here, Tony. I mean, you don't need a 40-page manual. You need, one clear idea at a time. What we just said, never pay fees for refunds. Just hammer that home. Always verify the agency using the official website. Ask for video calls. Check the email domain. Just slow the process down. Each one of those steps I just listed is a single powerful rule that can prevent massive losses for you.
Yeah, I agree. It's simple, actionable, repeatable. They instill confidence.
Yeah.
What else? What else you got?
When you want to learn, different seniors learn differently. Everybody learns differently. And these are pretty huge. Maybe we'll put these up on the website or somewhere, Tony. But some people want in-person workshops like you just spoke about. Some people just want a printed handout to keep by their computer at home for a reminder. Some prefer short videos. We've got all these stories and these videos we tell on our channels. Some prefer listening to podcasts. Some prefer those step-by-step checklists. Some prefer family conversations. Have a conversation about it at dinner together. I mean, the more formats that are out there, the more seniors can be reached and can learn about this stuff.
Yeah, you're right. No single format reaches everyone. The dinner, you talk about dinner table. I have these kinds of conversations with my kids at the dinner table. Much younger, not seniors, obviously, but I can't prepare people soon enough.
Right. I mean, that's what the stats show, not just for seniors, but for everybody. If you involve family members in these types of conversations and when they come up, you are far less likely to fall for scams because, again, that second set of eyes catches inconsistencies. Family members might have a different insight and how do they verify documentation. When you're not part of the whole script and the dialogue happening, it's far easier to spot that emotional manipulation if you are a third party watching from afar, so to speak. So if you're not involved in this, it's easy to see, hey, they're taking advantage of grandma right here. I mean, it's really easy to see when you're not on the phone with these people. And that just helps slow everything down. You can intervene, slow it down, help with online research, and recognize all those things. So like you just said, Tony, you should have these conversations before any kind of fraud happens. Make it just a normal conversation. One huge thing I brought up earlier, you've got to trust your instincts. If it feels wrong, it's probably wrong. Trust your intuition. Trust yourself when something feels off. If you feel discomfort during the conversation, it's probably a good sign that something's off. If you're confused by what they're telling you, if they're telling you to hurry up, that urgency, if they're putting pressure on you, if they're telling you to stay isolated, don't involve anyone, those are all huge warning signs. And again, trust your gut there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if people realize it, but that's the voice of experience talking.
It is. It's your inner brain shouting at you that something's wrong. I don't know if inner brain is an actual legitimate medical term, but that's that little voice in there talking to you. Another piece is to use community partners. No one should face this alone. Talk about it at churches, libraries, senior centers, community groups, retirement communities. There's organizations that host fraud awareness workshops, scam prevention seminars, technology training sessions. I mean, all those things are so helpful to just increase your education, and then join those support groups, those groups where you can trust and tell these stories, and bring this fraud up before it occurs to you.
Yeah, I think when seniors learn together, they feel supported. They don't feel singled out. I know that the group that I was with last week started to gain a little bit of a camaraderie, almost in the sense that
Right.
community is their protection mechanism.
Yep.
I could definitely feel that in the room.
All right. The last thing I want to bring up: pause, question, verify. You want to feel supported. You don't want to feel singled out. You want to zero in. You want, ask, who are you really? You're verifying. Why are you rushing me? Real professionals aren't going to rush you. And think about, how can I verify this independently? How are you going to find them on the website? How are you going to figure out if the phone number is fake? So those types of things you've got to be educated on, that you need to do your own verification in situations like this.
Yeah, that's the heart of prevention right there. Just having the confidence to say, not today, right? Confidence is the shield that folks
Yeah.
can put up. All right, that's a great wrap up, Sean. Thank you. Why don't you share your story about Robert Lang, who's someone no doubt took a lot of these nuggets you've been sharing with us earlier into consideration, and then we'll wrap things up.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great intervention story. This is the daughter who asked one question. So let me tell you about Robert Lang, age 82, a retired high school math teacher, widower, and proud grandfather of 5. Robert was sharp, independent, and meticulous, but last spring he fell for a tech support scam that drained $3,500 from his checking account. He was embarrassed. He didn't tell his kids. He didn't tell his friends. He didn't tell anyone. And 2 weeks later, the phone rang. The caller ID said Microsoft Refund Center. The man on the line introduced himself as Daniel from the refund division. He sounded professional, calm, patient, and reassuring. He told Robert they had caught the scammers. He told him his funds were secured, and he told him he was eligible for a full refund. And then he said the line scammers love most: "We're here to help you fix what happened." Robert felt relief wash over him. Someone finally understood. Someone finally cared. Daniel walked him through a fake refund portal, complete with a case number, a badge ID, and a fake Microsoft logo. He told Robert he just needed to pay a $900 refundable processing fee. Robert almost did it. But at that exact moment, his daughter Emily stopped by to drop off groceries. She overheard the call, the tone, the urgency, the pressure. She asked one simple question: "Dad, what number is he calling from?" Robert read it aloud. Emily typed it into Google. Nothing, no listing, no office, no Microsoft affiliation, just a string of digits used in dozens of scam reports. She took the phone and said, "Sir, we'll be calling Microsoft directly to verify this." The line went dead instantly. Emily then called the real Microsoft support line. They confirmed what she had already suspected. There is no Microsoft refund department. There is no refund case, and there is no Agent Daniel. Robert avoided the second strike. He froze his accounts. He reported the scam. He joined a fraud awareness group at his senior center, and now he teaches others how to avoid recovery scams. That's what winning looks like, not just avoiding the scam, but rebuilding confidence, reclaiming control, and breaking the cycle for good.
All right, great story, Sean. All right, maybe I gave Robert a little bit too much credit thwarting the scam, but he did follow one of the golden rules. He involved someone else, right? He got his daughter involved, and she followed the golden rule of independent verification. So in the end, I love it. I love the story. It's a universal story. It's a story in every situation where you just think verify, involve and verify. And like you said, the seniors can build confidence with that support, staying away from the isolation that the scammers try to create for them.
Yeah, families got to stay engaged.
You're right. Education always breaks the cycle.
Yep. I think that's a
all
wrap.
right.
That's it.
All right. A+ as always, Sean. Nice job today. Thanks for bringing it. And until next time.
Thanks, Tony. Hey, fraudsters don't give up, neither do we.
Recovery scams strike when seniors are hurting most. But today, we expose their playbook. You learned how scammers find previous victims, how they impersonate authority, and how they weaponize shame and urgency. You learned the red flags, the verification steps, and the organizations that truly help. And most importantly, you learned how seniors can break the cycle, not just avoiding the second scam, but protecting themselves for life. Knowledge is power, awareness is protection, and resilience is victory. And always remember to pause, question, and ask for help.